Hey, what's up, guys? We're just gonna run through a little look at tie-dyeing for next week. Um, just a little heads up, everyone who is digital, you're welcome to join us on Friday of next week. Um, so that would be, let me look up real quick, just so I can have it accurate. That would be November 6th. You guys are welcome to come in. We just got to touch base about a time, and then you would have to have a guardian sign you in and sign you out, and get you to the school. And you're welcome to tie-dye with us. You just got to bring a white cotton t-shirt or socks or something. Just needs to be cotton, and you have to have a parent sign you in, sign you out, and then give you some permission saying you can come. But we're going to tie-dye next week as a little kind of fun activity based on atoms and bonding. But first, we need to understand the science behind tie-dye. We're pretty much there with what you guys have done so far. We've talked about ionic and covalent bonding, but we're just going to kind of look at how it relates within tie-dye. So the tie-dyeing process, so everything we do involves chemistry, right? If I eat something, I'm taking energy, breaking it down, and turning it into a form my body can use. That's chemistry. We're doing chemical reactions left and right. There are chemical reactions that take place even before your food is swallowed. In your saliva, you have some enzymes that start to break down sugars. So that's happening in a chemical reaction just within your mouth as you're chewing food. So when we're doing tie-dye, there's definitely some chemical reactions taking place. So some dyes, such as the kind you can buy in a grocery store, like for your hair or for your clothes, you're just staining it. So every time you wash, it comes out a little bit. Like if you've ever done the Halloween hairspray dye and it comes out after a couple washes, that was not a chemical reaction because you're just temporarily coloring your hair. So there was no new substances formed. That's something that we've learned. We kind of talked about how sodium and chlorine, right? They're two very volatile substances. Like sodium will blow up if you throw it in water. Chlorine is super poisonous, but when we put them together, we make table salt. So that's a totally new substance. When you're just spraying that dye on your hair, it's not a new substance. So it's just a physical change. It's not a chemical change. So a really good dye is actually attaching to the molecules. So we're making a bond between the dye and those molecules. So this will not wash out, and it's a chemical change. Okay, we're making a new substance. We're having that cotton molecule bonded with the dye. Okay, the dye molecules are made are made out of atoms of different elements. We've got carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur, nitrogen, chlorine, sodium. We have these atoms being held together by chemical bonds. Different dye colors are made out of different dye molecules. Each dye molecule is shaped differently, and thus each different shape absorbs light differently. That's kind of an 8th grade standard. You don't really need to worry about light waves yet, but we're just focusing on that these different dyes, they're made from different atoms, right? Because they're obviously different colors, so something's different about them. And then all those different atoms bond with the shirt, and that's given us our cool patterns. That's given us our tie-dye. Okay, so we can kind of look at the different shapes. This is way beyond what you need to actually know, but it's always fun to kind of understand what's actually happening. So we can see that the red and the blue, we have two just kind of diagrams or models of the atoms that are involved in those. So we can see that they are definitely shaped differently. Fabric. So the reason we needed you to bring cotton, right, is that cotton is made of cellulose molecules, and that's the same stuff wood's made out of. But if you would have brought like polyester or latex or something like that, it's not going to be able to bond, right? Because that's in a completely different atom. And we know that if you have different atoms, you're not going to have the same kind of molecule because compounds are made from the atoms that make them, right? So if you change one of the atoms that makes a compound, you're going to have a totally different compound. So we needed to have cotton fabric in order to bond. What we need to do is prepare the fabric to allow for bonding. So we add a high pH to make the cellulose and the dye react together. So we add I think that might be a typo. High pH would be an acid. Oh, just kidding. No. what are we talking about here? All right, so we get a high pH. That's the water ash. What's cool and why I was a little thrown off is the dyes that we have. We have dyes that actually have this incorporated into them. So typically you need to soak your shirt in what's called water ash, and that kind of raises that pH, or soda ash, and that's that sodium bicarbonate. But we don't need to do that because the dye that we're using actually has a pH component worked into it. They've already done that step part of the chemical process, which is nice because it kind of saves us a bunch of space, and we're low on space, especially with COVID. So we'll skip that part. You guys are going to have to, we're going to have gloves on. We're just going to be very careful. This isn't like a kind of a lab where you're going to need to worry about like safety. This is just something you don't want to get the dye on yourself or your clothes because it will be there for a while. On your hands and your skin, it'll come off after a while, but your clothes, especially the cotton, it's going to be there forever. So got to be careful. So when we do the actual tie-dye itself, there's going to be a few different patterns, and I'll kind of be there helping you guys. Some people will twist their shirt up and tie it in a knot. I'm more of a fan of laying your shirt down flat and then kind of doing the twist and making a spiral. That's where you get those kind of, I don't know if you say like more standard tie-dye patterns, but that's a little bit more traditional. It says see handout for ideas. We're not going to be having any handouts with COVID, but I'll be there helping you guys. We'll do the rubber bands. If you're doing a mask, just be careful. When you're dyeing, we're going to be really careful that we don't mix the colors up, okay? So we got to be really careful about that because let's say that you think that you're putting yellow on your shirt and then you squirt the bottle and it comes out purple because somebody mixed some colors in there. We don't want that. And we also have sometimes where you think you might be making a nice pretty color, but you don't quite remember your preschool lessons accurately and you end up making brown. We don't want to have a bunch of brown tie-dyed shirts, so let's just make sure we're real careful with that. We're also not going to use too much dye, so we're going to be real careful with how much dye we use because it's not like I'm saying I'm not being a cheapskate. I promise. You can use enough, but if you use too much, you're just going to flood your shirt out that color. And you think that you're using the right amount, but if you put too much, your whole shirt's going to be dominated by that one color, and it kind of throws off the pattern. After you do the front of your shirt, you want to flip it over. So like it says here, you can either apply dye to this side matching the colors in the front, or you can apply one color to the whole back. That is a cool look if you do that. So there's tons of different options you can do. And then we're going to put it in the Ziploc, and you're going to keep it there, leave it there for 24 hours, okay? Don't open it, don't mess with it, just leave it. Let that dye settle, let that chemical reaction finish. We'll be cleaned up. I know it says everyone's going to clean up. I don't know exactly how we're going to do this with COVID. I'll probably be doing a lot of cleanup. So, yeah, I'll be running around. So the next day, you're going to take your shirt out of your bag, okay, so 24 hours later, all right, and you're going to rinse it with cold water. So you're going to squeeze and rinse until no more dye runs from the shirt. You're not going to like wring it out, right, but you're going to kind of like gently like massage out any dye, and you just want to do that until no more dye runs. So it says it might take 5 to 10 minutes. You don't need your water going full blast, right? So like be resourceful, don't waste a bunch of water. But just get your shirt nice and wet and then let that water kind of run over it a little bit and then just massage it. Try to work out any dye, but don't wring it out, but just kind of let any loose dye fall out on its own. Increase the temperature to warm water and do that for 5 more minutes. So once it runs clear, you're going to make the water warm and do it for 5 more minutes. Then you're going to kind of squeeze that shirt dry, wring it out. Okay, at this point you can wring it out because there's no more dye coming out. And then you're going to place it in a new plastic bag. And take home. It says you're going to take home then. You guys are going to be doing that on your own. We're not going to do that with me, so I'll give it to you at that point. And at that point, you can wash. Okay, so you're going to wash it in cold water. Don't wash it with any other clothes, just in case there's some dye you didn't work out. You want to make sure that there's nothing else that gets tie-dyed in your wash. And then dry it in the dryer, and now it is set, and it should be washed with dark clothes, but it's not going to dye anything else at that point. Okay, so that is our tie-dye. Like I said, hybrid guys, we're going to be doing this digital kids, if you want to attend, you're more than welcome to. I just need your parent to reach out or your guardian to reach out. Shoot me an email, whatever. Let me know it's going to happen. We'll work out a time that works best. And then you just need to be able to get signed in, signed out by that guardian at the school. And then you have to wear a mask, all that good stuff. I know some of you guys are not here because of health reasons, whatever, at home, and I totally understand that. There is absolutely no requirement to be here and do this at all. So don't stress. We're going to do a little video chat when we're doing tie-dye throughout the day. That day we're going to be doing the whole week of chemical reactions. I'll be posting videos and stuff of us doing it, so you can still be a part of that. That is not a worry at all. So hopefully you got all the answers for this. I think that is it. We'll have fun next week. This is a short week. Make sure you get everything done. Once you get everything done, get caught up on any late assignments. Remember, if you want to participate in tie-dye, and this goes for the digital people as well, I'm sorry I should have mentioned, all assignments from October 2nd to now need to be completely caught up. So we're not going to have any missing assignments from October 2nd to now. So I know the beginning of the year was a little rough, but that October 2nd to now, that gives us a few weeks worth of assignments that we should have done, be able to get those turned in and be on time. So if you want to do the fun stuff, we got to do the tough stuff. All right, have a good one.